Wait, we're on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh, we're on. Oh my God, we're live. We're live. It's
Boy, we miss Lou today, don't we?
It's that time again. Oh my God. Okay. Well,
Hi, Mike.
It's a good thing I put 25 cents in the meter.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, tonight we have a substitute co-host here, and that's Kathy McGuire, our lovely songbird, who's gracing us with her presence. And say hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. No, hi, Mike.
That's my line. But Lou has gone AWOL for the night, and he's essentially left the flying of this aircraft up to the bombardier. So tonight we're going to continue on with part 2 of what I like to call the Woodstock of ET Contact. And tonight our guests are going to be Kosta Makreas and Hollis Polk. And they'll be calling in a short while. So stay tuned. And I kind of want to, my philosophy in radio is if you're going to dance like nobody's watching. And if you're going to talk like nobody's listening. All right. So, I mean, I got involved in radio real early on when I was 18 or 19 years old, and I was on an AM radio station. I swear the only people that could hear me were people that taped the wires on their crystal radio to the metal plumbing in the building. So, I've been engaged in AM radio at a very low level for a very long time. So don't expect too much. But we have some really fascinating guests tonight, and they're friends of mine, and very, very dear friends of mine, and very active in the contact and disclosure movement. Kosta is the head of and the grand poobah of ETLet'sTalk.com, and he'll explain a little bit about that. And both Kosta and Hollis have been very close friends of mine since 2015, 2016, when they brought me into their home and educated me all about this wonderful experience in contact with the ET and non-human intelligences that I had undergone most of my life, but in some great essential part beginning in October of 2015. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, and what they're doing, their involvement with the Woodstock of ET Contact, what that's all about. And we're going to talk this is my chance to kind of commandeer the show for a little bit and talk about the kind of contact that Hollis and Kosta and I have had in places like Shasta and Joshua Tree over the last couple of years, and what I've been doing at Darby Ranch, and how the movement is progressing. So, and it is a movement. It's a cultural movement. It's a spiritual movement, and some might say eventually it'll get to be a political movement that's involving total egalitarianism, the value of all human life, and finding our place in the greater cosmology and cosmos among the star beings and non-human intelligences of the different dimensions, the different planets, and the different densities. So that's kind of where we're going with the show tonight. I think we're going to have a very informative and inclusive show. So you can't call in because we're going to be monopolizing the line with Hollis and Kosta in a couple of minutes. So save your questions for YouTube. You can find us at imho.love on Facebook. You can also find us on YouTube at imho.love on YouTube, where we backlog the shows. We're live right now. Radio is 1340 AM and 106.1 FM. There are a couple other FM stations, but they escape me at this point in time. I'm sure they're all going to write and say, shame on you for forgetting. But hey, I'm an old man. What do you expect? So, So, Kathy, are you singing any place this week or this month, or you got any gigs going on?
Yeah, actually, I'll be singing down at Poirier's next month. The second Friday of every month, I do a cabaret series at Poirier's in downtown Clearwater, and it's a lot of fun. The theme for this month is the 80s.
The 80s. It's funny. On my way here, you talk about, Back to the Future. about a half mile down the road, somebody took a Volkswagen van and painted it up like it's something out of the 60s.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it is. But it's like an 84 van. It's like, dude, it's like, it wasn't a movie. Somebody would write like, no, you got that wrong. So, it's like, no, sorry.
Back to the Future van, back to the 60s. So yeah, that'd be kind of,
that's right. What a futuristic V-dub,
Absolutely.
Wow, God, they got a top you can move up. I mean, who would have thought of that back in '62? Yeah.
Well, last month it was the 70s. So that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, we did a little bit of everything from Janis to Carole King to Santana. So it was a lot of fun. This month, the 80s come on. It was, hair bands and Madonna and, the coming of the whole new wave era. So it's a lot of fun. I love doing the cabaret shows because I get to sing a little bit of everything. But let's talk about your stuff because that's why I'm here and that's why I'm excited.
Okay, good. Well, right now out at the ranch, we've put up some privacy fences, and we've enclosed an outside area for our guests there. We've been getting more than 30 people who attend. The last time we had it was this August, beginning of August. The rains were horrible, and we had 8 or 9 new people, but we did our meditation, and immediately we started having what are called flash bulbs, and one craft briefly appeared, then disappeared. The rains came, and then swarms of mosquitoes swooped down so that by about 11:15, they'd sucked up enough blood so that we had to go back inside and eat sugar cookies and drink coffee and then just call it a night because you cannot meditate when mosquitoes are draining you like Dracula.
And if you've never lived in Florida, you really don't understand that. And I don't know why we're disconnecting again. Yay! I just love the connections here. I'm going to be pulling out my phone in a minute.
It's like I told you. You got to bring your paper clips in here.
I just forgot my other, yeah. Well, hopefully they're listening on H. Oh, gosh, here we go. Yay. Okay, let's just keep talking and I'll figure this out. You keep talking. I'm listening. I'm going to pull some other magic out in a second. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, what people don't know, Kathy usually does this behind the scenes. And what I have a great appreciation for now is Lou's ability to kind of pull things together. And the technical side as the global master here, all I have to do is sit in and, kind of expound on some of my notes. So pulling this all together in this radio station, it's not like we have staff of 11 or 12 people here. We literally are the bomber flying alone with the tail wing half
I'm
off.
the navigator, so we're in trouble.
trying to fly back from Germany into England with nothing but air in the gas tank and a shot off tail wing.
Well, let's just keep going because if anyone can hear us on one of the other aspects of the wonderful ways you can hear us, this eventually comes back on Facebook and everywhere else off of YouTube. So let's just keep going. We're just going to record it as if it's on YouTube.
We've lost our Facebook link again. Okay. All right. Well, I've always said F Facebook anyway. So, eventually we're going to move off the Facebook platform. There's got to be a better place than the Zuckerberg's backyard to produce this show. So, so much for that. So we're, let's see, what else we got going on here? Just kind of life in general. My life is boring. I go to court today, took care of business and then came on down here. Actually, I did have an opportunity to talk to the architect. We're building some other buildings out at the ranch and, got a chance to talk to him about what we're going to do out there to make contact and meditation a little bit easier. So that's what's going on.
I am listening to you. I'm just doing tech at the same time.
Am I listening?
We have a caller.
We have a caller.
Yay.
This just might be Kosta and Hollis.
I hope it is.
Are we on?
You are on, Kosta.
Always have been. This is Kosta.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Hollis.
Hollis.
So I don't know if you caught any of the introduction. I said awful things about you both, and my lawyer. I'm sure your lawyer will be in contact with me in the morning.
Well, there's someone knocking at your
Nice to know you're up and moving. Oh man! So how you guys been out there? You're out in Northern California. So talk to us a little bit. What I'd like to do is tell us. Well, the people that are really going to be listening to this are people that are already involved in the movement. So doing this at an introductory level, we're going to kind of do that. But I'd like you and and Kathy here. Kathy's going to be asking some questions as we go along, to take this as an information proliferation or a means of proliferating information on what's going on out there in the contact movement specifically, and the disclosure movement to whatever extent you want to talk about it.
Okay, that's great. For the people who, like you said, already know what all of us do, which is ET Contact, CE5 protocol, things like that. I'll give an update on what we're doing. For those who don't know, just really quickly, I founded the ETLet'sTalk.com website and ET Let's Talk community and the People's Disclosure Movement. And we have about 25,000 people in more than 100 countries. And I like to say, or I like to tell people the fact that our community makes contact daily, weekly, and monthly. And we've been doing this for many years in order to build a group field of invitation and welcome to our star friends. So and I also want to mention the People's Disclosure Movement is really about all of us doing the disclosure ourselves. We're not relying on government authorities. We're not on bended knee in supplication mode, waiting for someone to make a press announcement, a press conference, an announcement that disclosure has happened from the higher sources, from governmental sources. We're doing it ourselves.
Because we all already had the experience.
We already have, and in fact, our star friends tell us, and I can talk about this maybe later if we have time, that early in 2019, we did achieve the People's Disclosure, which is defined as the fact that moving forward from the earlier part of this year, no cover-up can ever again happen, because so many of us, like yourself, Mike, and Hollis and I, and many of our friends all over the world have already made the contact. We've disclosed ourselves. We've disclosed the ET presence ourselves, and that's all we need to really move forward. And that's a really wonderful thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Not that my opinion matters, but ever since I've made the most prolific contact in the last 4 or 5 years, I have a saying. I took it from the Bible. Not that I'm a Bible knocker or a Bible thumper, but there's a saying that I look into the hills from whence cometh my strength. I look into the skies from whence cometh my strength these days, because the solutions that we have that are available to us through our planetary governments aren't working, and they don't seem to be organized in any way, shape, or form that's going to save the people or the environment in this planet. But based on the studies that were done by the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, it seems like after contact, one of the most immediate effects is the care that we take about each contact experience. You do it if it's not the primary reason, because this spiritual enlightenment that we go through as a consequence of contact is all based on our approach to each other, love, understanding what true spirituality is, and how to relate it and engage in it and share it with not only each other as human beings, but with the extraterrestrials and extra dimensionals and interdimensionals that end up showing up at our CE5s.
I couldn't agree with you more. This is in the broadest sense of the word, a spiritual experience. However, whatever path you follow, you're always forever changed after you make the contact. I believe your heart opens, and all the things that you said are true. You become interested in the health of the greater whole and in contributing to it and in the relations between your family. So it's a real profound and opening up experience.
Yeah, I am not sure in any way how to tell the difference between what we call our star brothers and sisters and what people over the millennia have called angels or avatars or, pick your name, right? I'm sure I don't know all the names. But the ones who seem to arrive more, shall we say, advanced than humans mostly are right now. And we are learning from them as we have throughout the ages.
The one thing that I've noted about, and Hollis, you and I talked earlier in the week, aside from the wide array of manifestations of different types and shapes and forms and intelligences, I mean, it almost defies counting them. There are so many different entities that are appearing or manifesting themselves that it really is difficult to say exactly with whom we're communicating and who is appearing. But my experience is that it's happening more and more frequently. It's happening in a broader sphere, and it's getting more up close and personal. And as we talked earlier this week, I found that with my own group, if I bring somebody who's in fear of this, we don't get any results. If you bring new people who aren't afraid, the results that I've been getting are typical and probably grade appropriate for the people that are experiencing. And in the more advanced groups, like, for example, when I was with you guys out in Shasta in 2017 and Joshua in 2018, we had some incredibly magnificent manifestations of ET, NHIB, motherships. I mean, all this stuff is absolutely out there and so real. And when you get people together that are of like mind that do this enough and understand, like, say, the drill, I mean, my God, I mean, it's the most awesome thing that I've ever had happened in my life. So thank you for that, and thank you for bringing me into this.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mike, because I often tell people there would be nothing for myself and Hollis to organize in this community and to facilitate if nobody ever bothered to show up. So the thanks really goes to the innumerable people who have come into this movement, made their own contact, shared with each other in the ET Let's Talk community and in other networks and communities. So the credit really goes to all of us.
Well, and people like you who started your own group.
Yeah.
Right? It's very important that we meet regularly, right? We have a once a month on a Saturday nearest the new moon. And the fact that there are groups all over the world going out every month has a kind of resonance effect, which tends to improve the contact.
Well, it's amazing how it's grown. I'm sorry, Kosta, were you saying something?
Yeah, it's to your point now when you say about how it's grown. To further that point, as Hollis was saying about groups going out regularly all over the world, and this has grown, it's about to grow bigger, because one thing I would like to announce to your listeners, as we've been announcing on social media for the last 10 days, is an event that's called the Woodstock of ET Contact.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We talked briefly in the last episode last week with Deb Buller, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you to come in and talk with us tonight. So please be so kind as talk to us about the Woodstock of ET Contact.
Sure. What started as a joke by a young man, maybe a couple months ago, maybe several months ago, called Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us. Got, I think, 4 million clicks going and interested on social media, on Facebook, which showed the level of awareness of people about that area and about the topic. 4 million. That was incredible. And that event has morphed into what's going to be a big party out there in the desert. However, we were guided literally by our star friends, and Deb's Buller gets credit for helping with that. what we call our star teachers, who said that that event is really not about storming anything, which, of course, we do not condone doing anything illegal, nor people to show up out there if they don't want to. If people don't want to go out there during September 20, 21, and 22 and have a good party and listen to music and celebrate the ET presence, that's great. But doing illegal things, not great. However, the Woodstock of ET Contact is something that ET Let's Talk has organized so that people will focus from all over the world during those 3 days, September 20, 21, and 22, focus their attention initially on that area 51 and draw in the ET presence too in their consciousness, and send a wave of love that begins in that area to radiate out over the entire planet. Our star friends have said that this action for those 3 days, including as many of us as possible that we can mobilize, has the potential to create a peace and love effect over the planet in the same way that the Woodstock event, the original one for 3 days back in August 15th to the 18th of 1969, defined a generation and created a consciousness of peace and love throughout the world. It's still reverberating in many ways right now. So the Woodstock of ET Contact is the wider cosmic version of that, and that's why I'm inviting people to share this. We have just about 4 weeks to get this going, make it go viral all over the planet, and get people to focus and come together and create these waves of love that are going to bring healing to the earth and help us transition into a golden age.
Well, you know,
what's nice is,
go on, Hollis.
okay, you can do it from wherever you are, right? Meditation can happen anywhere, and you can instantaneously send your intentions and love to that place or the entire world.
You know, you're absolutely right. And there've been on one occasion, Buddy Bolton and I did a remote, and he kind of remoted in, and we had an amazing night of contact. And his group was CTSing my group. This stuff really works. I mean, it's not something that happens in your imagination, but once you learn to get to that, time-space membrane, that highway, and reach it, which is really, really simple. I know. Kosta, you in particular. I remember we had a conversation once, and you said, geez, I wish people could learn just exactly how easy this is. If everybody learned how easy this is. And that's exactly what I do with my group, is I teach them the most simple method to get into the meditative state and get into that level where they can make contact. It's not as difficult as so many people try to make it out to be. And I thank you for having the mindset that wants to democratize contact. I mean, you're the one that brought the thought into my mind that made what's happening in Darby Ranch happen. So once again, thank you for
going on at Darby Ranch, Mike, with great interest and inspiration. Hollis and I have followed for the last several years. You started out with basic yourself and your interests, found some friends, found a few more friends, they brought some friends, and you've become a dynamic presence in the state of Florida for this kind of ET contact, of a center of cosmic light there. And you're right about the ease of doing this. I tell people that really at the core, if you bring an open heart, your loving intentions, an open mind, your own invitation to the ETs, that automatically raises your frequency. And of course, there are a protocol you can follow, and many groups will customize things. They'll visualize this or that, their own kind of contact. Sometimes they'll play music or do some ritual. And I like to say that whatever groups do that raises their vibration, that gets them in harmony with each other and with the universe and gets them into that meditative mindset, I think that's fine. As long as they bring the love and the invitation and the goodwill to the core of all of it, then we're all going to be thing. And anybody can do that unless they give in to fear or skepticism or hostility or negativity of some kind. And I want to echo what you said, that when that's present, you're not going to get contact. So get over that and join the rest of the cosmic community here, which is in much more coherence of love and making this contact, because it gets returned to us. It gets detected by our star friends when we vibe really high that way. I know I sound really new age when I say that, vibe really high, but it is really about love. And we've been told in many ways by our star friends that they love us. And we have stories.
We do have stories. One time we were up at Mount Shasta with a group meditating in a light drizzle. It was nighttime. We're out, it was cloudy. I mean, like soft in cloudy with a drizzle. We all meditated for maybe 20 minutes. And when we opened our eyes, there was directly over us. And as we sat and watched, kind of wisps of clouds began to agglomerate in the center of that circle, eventually making a heart, like a cloud heart, directly over us. And one of the groups that he got a message from the folks who were making that said, "We love you."
Well, we're going to go. We got about 2.5 minutes here, and then we got to take a break, and then we're going to go into some of these wonderful experiences that we've had together and other experiences. One of the things, the word love it takes on many consequences and many interpretations. I tend to use, there's different kinds of love, and what I like to try to express is human compassion, the compassionate kind of love that we have for each other, that we have for our planet, and that we like to share. Also, the deep love we have for each other. I mean, agape, call it what you will, friendship, love of children, love of parents. That kind of deep love is where at least I teach my groups to go, and immerse yourself in it, and then share it. Do your intention to share and share it. But what I'd like to say is on the upcoming Woodstock event is a few months ago. What we did a remote group effort with Giorgio Piacenza down in Peru, and what we did is we Google mapped onto the big screen. It was raining outside where we were, so we couldn't go outside. So we ended up doing is Google mapped to the big screen, and then we focused on the area on the big screen where Giorgio was, and then we focused our intention on it. And it's just a suggestion, if you want to, we got 1 minute left, groups who don't know where they're supposed to be focusing on, it may help them to find Area 51 on their Google map, so they know the area that they need to be concentrating on to join. I think that might help. It's just a suggestion. It's not mandatory, but it's
what I'm going to do.
Oh, okay, good.
That is a good suggestion. We're still promoting this and coming up with great ideas as we go along, because it just came along really suddenly, and so I appreciate what you just said. Certainly in our promotional material on the website on ETLetsTalk.com, I'm inspired now by what you said. To put a link there, that's a Google Earth map.
Okay, Kosta, we'll be back in 5 or 6 minutes. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we gotta go.
Okay.
Stay online. And now the news.
WTAN, Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF, Dade City,
FM 102.3,
WZHR, Zephyr Hills,
FM 104.3.
Listen.
Parts of Puerto Rico already feeling the wrath of Hurricane Dorian with heavy rains and power outages. National Hurricane Center Director Ken Graham says Dorian may grow into a dangerous Category 3 storm as it heads toward Florida.
This new forecast, why it changed overnight, is you're further out in the ocean where those warm water is and less shear, and that's why the forecast intensity went up. It's just a different path.
Earlier in a tweet, President Trump slammed Puerto Rico as being one of the most corrupt places on earth. That drew this response from the minority leader of the Puerto Rico Senate, Eduardo Batia.
He has actually unified the people of Puerto Rico against him. Other than that, I think I would rather move forward rather than trade insults with the President of the United States right now.
Democratic Senator Chris Coons voiced his concern over news that the president allegedly was willing to pardon members of his team that break laws to help get the southern border wall up by the 2020 election.
He's not only diverting money from hurricane relief and from Department of Defense projects, but he is offering to pardon folks in his administration if they break the law by seizing private land and racing through the contracting process in order to get it done. It's hard to know what to say.
The Taliban says it's close to an agreement with the U.S. on a deal that could lead to U.S. troop withdrawal, but Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Joseph Dunford says he's most concerned about keeping terrorists at bay.
I think it's premature. I'm not using the withdrawal word right now. I'm using, we're going to make sure that Afghanistan is not a sanctuary, and we're going to try to have an effort to bring peace and stability to Afghanistan.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson maneuvered to give his political opponents even less time to block a no-deal Brexit before the October withdrawal deadline, winning Queen Elizabeth II's approval to suspend Parliament. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Driving is freedom. The freedom to keep moving, to control your destiny, and to choose your path. And now that freedom fits in the palm of your hand. It's called Ford Pass, the only app that gives you roadside assistance, Ford Pass rewards, and now when you buy or lease a new Ford, earn points you can use toward flexible complimentary maintenance that gives you, well, more freedom. Ford Pass, built to keep you moving, built Ford proud. Visit your participating Ford dealership to find out about getting flexible complimentary maintenance when you buy or lease a new Ford and sign up for rewards.
Roadside assistance is included for certain Ford owners and available to everyone for a per-service fee. Ford reserves the right to change program details without obligations. Visit your participating dealer or FordPassRewards.com for program rules and restrictions. Ford Pass, compatible with select smartphone platforms, is available via a download.
Hey everybody, this is Pastor Marcia McAllister from Beacon of Hope Ministries. We want you to join us on Sunday afternoons at 3 o'clock on this radio station for our 2-hour show, talking to you about the Word of God, giving you great contemporary music, some lively chat, and just some food for thought. You'll be encouraged to know how very much God loves you and how He has a plan for your life. Join us this coming Sunday at 3 o'clock on Living the Good Life.
Hi there, I'm Dr. John.
And I'm Dr. Lisa.
Do you have medical questions you never get to ask?
Now you can ask us.
After many years of caring for children and families, we've learned that the best informed families are also the healthiest.
Are you saying knowledge is power, Dr. John?
I am, Dr. Lisa, and since you're the smart one, I hope you'll share some knowledge with me and our listeners.
Let's do this then.
Okay, we hope you join us every Monday at noon right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network for the Doctors John and Lisa Show.
Listen online at tantalk1340.com.
If you would like to become a wholesale buyer of the premium quality longevity product that you hear about right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network for personal service, you can pick up the phone right now and call Lola at 727-441-3311. Again, that's Lola at 727-441-3311. Or for even faster service, log on to tantalkhealth.com. That's tantalkhealth.com. Here's to your health and longevity.
Penny Pool Patio Spa in Seminole reminds us that training and discipline instill the values that create leadership abilities. Those same values stay with our military veterans returning to the civilian workforce. So if you're a business owner, remember to hire smart and bet on a vet. This reminder from Penny Pool Patio Spa at 9686 Seminole Boulevard in Seminole. Call 397-6817 for sales, service, and installation. Again, 397-6817.
Are you looking for some great restaurants? For some great wines? Where are the great chefs? Listen to Dine Out Radio, heard every Wednesday on the Tan Talk Radio Network. 12 to 1 p.m., we'll tell you where all the great events are. We'll have Food and Wine Magazine and Bon Appetit Magazine. We'll have their editors and writers on each month. And maybe we'll throw in a couple surprises. Check out the website, diningoutradio.com.
My bridges all. This is Patty from Soap This. We are having an amazing event November 2nd and 3rd here in Clearwater, Florida, with some of your favorite actors from Young and the Restless. For tickets and pricing, visit soapthis.ticketleap.com. For more info, call 727-210-5143. Again, for tickets, visit soapthis.ticketleap.com.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
And I believe we're back.
We're back. And hopefully our guests are too. Kosta, are you there? Hollis, are you there?
We're here.
I am here, but what does that really mean, Mike? Metaphysically speaking, I'll let you wax poetic on that.
Poetic on metaphysics. Wow. I don't even know what that is.
I know you do. You're a smart guy.
Well, yeah. Well, I failed physics, so and I didn't get to the next class, which I thought was like metaphysics. So, what can I tell you? I don't do math. Hey,
but you do poetry.
I do poetry. I try, and every now and then I get something to work. So thank you. Yeah. Speaking of poetry, it looks like Hollis and I both went to Princeton together. We were in the same class, but we other than our initial orientation, where we really didn't get to socialize or even recognize each other. We spent like 35 years not knowing each other, being in the same class of like 1,100 people, and then all of a sudden, this contact. Major contact that I had in October 2015 brought us together, and it's such a wonderful thing. What I want to do though first is kind of get some business out of the way. Now, you guys are going to be you guys spoke last year at a major conference, and I believe you have another engagement coming up this November, between November 1st and the 3rd in 2019 this year at Paula Harris's Starworks USA in Laughlin, Nevada, and I think it's called Visions of the Future. So if I'm wrong, let me know. If I'm right, tell me more about that.
You are right, and it's a wonderful assembly of quality people that Paula's brought together, ourselves included. We really look forward to being there. It goes on from November 1st to the 3rd. And like you said, it's in Laughlin, Nevada, called Visions of the Future. Remote viewing UFOs and ESP, I think, is what the subtitle is. But I do urge people to come out. It's very affordable, and they'll see a lineup of, I think, maybe a couple dozen speakers. I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but I think it's StarWorksUSA.com.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I urge people to come out and see us, tap us on the shoulder and say hello, and meet all the other great people that are going to be talking about the types of topics that you talk about here on your show with us and your other guests, Mike, and it'll be fun.
One of the great things about this conference is that it's not huge, right? There's maybe a few hundred people, so you really do get to meet and talk to any speaker you want to talk to, as well as plenty of other participants who are fascinating. We met a few other participants last year who I really learned a lot from, so I'm grateful.
Do you know which hotel you're going to be speaking at? There are a few of them with some very large conference rooms there.
Oh, that's true. It's the Aquarium.
Ah, yeah.
I'm
nice
sorry,
place.
real quickly, what is the name of the event? Because I was going to post it on the
Starworks USA Visions of the Future.
Starworks.
StarWorksUSA.com.
All right, I'm going to post it.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Hey, I was allowed to give. I say allowed to give. It was kind of like they let me out of a cage for a while. I was allowed to address UFO MegaCon out there in Laughlin, Nevada, and something. Guys on the East Coast like Lou and I, I got to say something about Loft. You know, it's a good gig over there. It's there on the river. It's a wonderful place. I'm not a gambler, nor am I a regular marijuana smoker. But, you know, in Nevada, marijuana is legal. And after I gave my talk, Lou bought legally, and I got so stoned legally out there. It was like so freeing. I was wishing for a place like that ever since I was like 15 years old. And then all of a sudden,
California, Mike.
yeah. Well, you know, I mean, yeah, I will. I already told you guys I'm going to be. I'll be out at your Shasta event, and why don't you talk about that? Let's get that out of the way first. Now, and we're going to talk about what happened out there when I was out there, and so you have some events. Now, part of what you do is you have a extremely reasonably priced. I mean, it's barely covering your costs, and I know that for a fact. So when you ask people to contribute to come to these things, I know your money's going to rent space where they can comfortably meditate and learn and make contact. So, you know, dollar for dollar. I mean, it's anybody who hears my voice and who listens to you tonight, who doesn't show up at one of your CE5 mentoring week-long sessions is really missing the boat. I mean, Celia Hatch, who wrote the ACE5 handbook and who created CE5 Canada, ET Contact, you know, a wonderful, wonderful woman, great mover and shaker and creator of this movement in Canada. She was at the first one that I attended in Shasta. But please, for the benefit of the public who's going to be hearing this, promote yourself. Tell us when these things are going to be and how they can register and where they can find information on it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity. People can always go to etletstalk.com/retreat, and that'll have the updated information on where and when, what goes on, the ability to register, all in one place. And like you said, it's a week long. We do 6 days and nights in 3 different locations during the year. In order of appearance, those are Mount Shasta, California, Northern California, in Bloomington, Indiana, in the heart of the Midwest, and then back to the West Coast for Joshua Tree in Southern California. And they're spread out from June for Mount Shasta to September in Bloomington and October for in Joshua Tree. Now, the important thing is that they're not huge groups, and that's by design. As you said, this is not to make oodles of money. It's to cover costs and keep the ET Let's Talk mission sustained and going. We make contact in different ways at every one of the locations, just about every night that we take the groups out. And during the day, Hollis has a chance to teach people.
Right. A lot of contact is made through various psychic abilities that every single person has. And it is my great pleasure to help people identify their unique combination of psychic abilities and then to develop that. And then that helps us at night when we're outside making contact. Yeah. Which is not to say that you don't see things in the sky and occasionally on the ground.
Well, bringing that into perspective, you helped me when I went out into to Shasta. You've been actually helping me all along, but when I went out to Shasta, you were teaching remote viewing, and I remember that you brought out a black bag and you said, remote view. This is how you do it, and tell us what's in the bag. And then I was in kind of like the middle of the circle, and everybody was guessing books and all kinds of stuff. And I remember I said, I can't tell you exactly what's in it, but I've drawn a picture of a round man's face, and I don't understand why, but that's all I got out of this. And I thought I had failed because I hadn't guessed what's in the bag. But what you ended up teaching me how to do is to find that subtle area where you get the remote viewing. And when you pulled a man's dive mask out of the bag, it floored me, and you just kind of looked at me and kind of gave me this strange look. It's like, okay, you got the lesson today. So which is contrary to my experience with Nancy Dutetra, who basically tried to teach me again. And she says, "Now, Mike, stick with the CE5. You really need to work that because you're just not getting it." So I took her advice, but I still, I'll still work on the TSP, in the interim. It's a fun thing to know how to do, and along with the Russell Targ stuff, and as the ESP trainer, it's a wonderful format. So what I'd like to do, though, before we go any further, is Kosta, you posted this week on some sort of computer information gathering thing that was being used by TTSA, To the Stars Academy. Do you care to speak about that right now? Do you think it's important enough to talk about on the show, or should we just move on?
I do want to say briefly that I'm not a supporter of TTSA. I believe that the hostility that's been shown by the various spokespeople toward our star friends is kind of anathema. It's totally opposite to what we practice, which is our experience has been we've been contacting benevolent civilizations for years, hundreds and thousands of us have, and we've not experienced this kind of hostility. So in the People's Disclosure Movement, the idea is that we make our own contact and we celebrate that. But what comes out of TTSA is fear of the other in one form or another, no matter how they try to dress it up. I believe some of that is stagecraft when they try to moderate that, but that's not what is there at the core. And they do have a new program called, I don't even want to mention it here, but
okay,
it'll be, people will see it, that we'll try to take the experiences and centralize them in a database. Experiences like our groups are having all over the world, and gather information. It sounds like kind of like a MUFON thing, but I think it's a lot more.
It's nefarious.
I think it's a plan to harvest
what
we are doing in the community and to get everybody's name and address.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the FBI and the CIA did all along. The FBI did it in the 60s with the peace movement and with the voter registration movements. As part of the as part of the equalizing the Voter Rights Act of 1964 and that sort of thing. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. But now that we've addressed it, and I think adequately, I'm just going to move on, and I'm going to kind of talk. What I'd like to do is talk about when I first met with you guys. Do you mind if we go there?
Sure, go ahead. No, we don't mind, but sure, go there.
Well, what had happened is I had this massive contact and download from a fifth density entity that was kind enough to allow me to photograph it. And I've got 3 wonderful iconic photographs of this entity. And after it happened, I got in touch with one of our classmates who was the president of the class at the time, and I had mentioned it to her, and she said, "Oh, you need to get in touch with Hollis Polk," and I had no idea who Hollis was. So we got, Susan had gotten us both together, and we've been like beans and rice ever since. I was in the show the Biggest Loser. And I lost a bunch of weight, and I've only gained like 50 pounds of it back, so I'm still okay. But I went out to California to do for the anniversary of the show, and they said, "Hey, while you're out there, stop on up, and we'll teach you how to do this stuff." So I did, and they were kind enough to have me up, and they had me stay over at their wonderful home, and I learned so much in 3 days. I mean, it was almost as much information as the download I got on October 3rd, 2015, and I'm sitting there at their kitchen table, and I was thinking, I'm like, wow, why aren't I getting all this stuff? What's blocking me? And Hollis turns to me. I'm thinking to myself, and she looks at me and she goes, "Wow, I've never seen that before. I just seen your third eye open up, and you're wondering why you're so blocked." And I was like, at that point in time, I was like, as strange as all this stuff seems, I'm in. It's like, I am so in that. So that's what that's what I was experiencing, and and Hollis has never stopped surprising me in this. Now I'm going to go to Joshua Tree. We'll get to Shasta, but I'm going to go to Joshua Tree in 2015, and my first CE5 partner, Rose Bellissimo, and I went out there. And Rose and I had like really remarkable experiences at Darby Ranch beforehand, and we had been out to Shasta the year before. So Rose and I went out there, and the Monday night was kind of, we were in meditation for about 10, 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes after the meditation, a mothership passed over and it blocked out 15% of the sky. And, Rose and I, because we lie on our backs on sleeping bags and instead of sitting in chairs, we saw the whole thing. And there was another guy in the group who was doing the same thing that saw it as well. And I turned to Rose and I said, I don't care how much we paid to get here. I don't care how much that car rental was. I just got everything I ever wanted out of this week by that one mothership showing up, and it was cloaked, and you had to understand what the cloaking was and how we saw it. I don't have time to go into it here, but we had that, and then 2 nights later on Wednesday night, we had this, the ET show up. I use that just as for brevity's sake, above us, and everybody's oohing and eyeing as ET is overhead. And then I come out of my meditative state and I look over at the horizon and to the west, and I see the mothership is hovering over the mountains in the west, and it's got lights on, and it's doing everything a mothership's supposed to do. So I fired up my iPhone and I took the video of the ship, and it's wonderful. It's definitely what it is. So then the third night, and this is where Hollis comes in. The third night, the same ship showed up over a hill that was about 2 miles away. The first ship was about 6 or 7 miles up. It showed up over where Rose and I were staying at the motel. And on the Friday night, I think it was, ship shows up, but I also think there were people on the mountain because there were lights coming down, and I couldn't quite determine whether or not there were lights coming from the ship or somebody was walking down the hillside of the mountain. And I brought up that issue. I said, it could be, it couldn't be. And then, and what Hollis does, she goes, and she says, I just got a message from the star teachers. I forget exactly how she phrased it. But at 1:15, there will be 2 ships that show up over the mountains on the north across the highway about 4, 5, 6 miles out. And I'm like, and she says that about 10:15. So I'm like, wow, talk about Babe Ruth calling the shot. So I'm like, I got to stay for this, and I'll be damned. Whoever she was talking to got it right, because exactly at 1:15, 2 ships show up over the mountains on the north.
Wow.
Right on time, exactly how she called it. And it wasn't, no, these are flying drones. No, these were ships that showed up. And, ever since then, it was like, I don't care whatever you tell me. I'm going to believe it. I mean, if these people are talking to you, if these entities are talking to you, I'm just as in now as I was when you read the third eye opening up. So you have my absolute faith in your credibility and your ability to pick up these things.
So I got to say that seeing your third eye opening is a big standout for me too, because I have never seen it on anybody else before or since. So that's like a whoa. It never occurred to me that you could see that on somebody, right? Which to me says a lot about you. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well,
I just watched it open. Like, whoa, I didn't know that was possible. Like, because I saw it in your forehead, right? And I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know you could see that. So that was one. And then on the ship, you give me a little too much credit. What they said was, we'll be back later. And they gave me a time frame, not a specific time. It was like a half hour. It's like, we'll be back between X and Y. but it will be slightly different than it was the first time. And sure enough, they showed up within the time frame, and yes, it was a little different because it was over a different part of the mountain. But other than that, yeah, it was them. It was definitely the same craft, no question in my mind. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Once again, it's miraculous, and this stuff really does exist. I mean, once you get into this, and maybe that was my third eye opening up to perceive and to be accepting and understanding of everybody who has these contact experiences, these otherworldly experiences. You know, people that see spirits, see people that see angels. Call them whatever you wish. There are so many different modes of consciousness that you can move into and that you can experience, and people do experience. And one of the reasons I founded Darby Ranch was because as an experiencer contactee, I had really nobody to talk to. And then when I learned that Dr. John Mack had died, was no longer at Harvard, I was like, oh my God, I got nobody to talk to about this. And that's why I ended up searching out Hollis and Kosta. And then I started realizing that a lot of people are having these experiences and they don't have anybody to talk to. And then when they get a chance to talk to you and you don't pass judgment on them and you understand what they have experienced is real and there's a real explanation for it, and then all of a sudden, you know, you realize the truth in what they say and the truth in them. Then all of a sudden, you know, they are part of your life. And people like that have, you know, are part and parcel of the group. When I met Kosta and Hollis, they had like 10,000 people in the group. Now they've got 25,000. And when I started my group 2.5 years ago, there were 2 of us, and we're up to 146 registered members and probably 25 members who aren't registered, who, you know, kind of show up from time to time. So we've been able to incorporate these contactees and experiencers so that they have a safe place to practice and a safe place to meditate, and they won't be bothered, and people won't be passing judgment on them like people all too often do. Is, you know, you're communicating or you're communing with the devil and that kind of stuff. And, you know, and it's exactly the opposite of that. So once again, thank you for bringing me into this and sharing this wonderful experience with me, and especially Shasta in 2017. That was mind blowing in and of itself.
We've got about 2 minutes left, so I'm just trying to keep us on track here. What else would you like to cover, Mike?
Thank you. It's not me. Hollis, Kosta, anything else you'd like to say before we have used up our 25 cents on the meter here?
We can't see the meter for more. Yeah, sure. I want to encourage people to come join ETLet'sTalk.com. The membership is free. It's a community, as you were saying, Mike, where you can share your stories. It's a safe place where we learn and grow and share with each other. We do our own disclosure. And again, that's ETLet'sTalk.com. As far as the Woodstock event, we want everyone to get the word out. We need volunteers to get out on social media. To register and get more detailed information, people should go to etletstalk.com/Woodstock-ET-Contact /. So it's etletstalk.com Woodstock-ET-Contact with the hyphens in there.
We've also added your event. We've shared your event on the imho.love Facebook page as well as on the website. So all that information is available.
Right.
Thank you so much.
And the archive stuff is also going to be on imho.love on YouTube. And you can find me, my site is Tampa HICE/CE5 Darby Ranch, Florida, USA. I post some interesting stuff, and you can keep apprised of what's happening at the ranch that way. We're also on Meetup, so if you're local, hit us up on Meetup.
And we hope to see you next week.
Love you guys. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks for showing up.
Much love to you. Thank you for your. Thank you.
We're good.
We're good. Thanks again, Facebook.